Hello, wonderful world. It's me again, Soleira Green and Nicky Marshall.
Hi.
We're both passionate about books and writing and self-publishing, and I hope you got the marketing end as well, but we shall see, huh? Because that's
Yeah,
something that I'm not super great at. So I've written and self-published 21 books, but I'm terrible at marketing them. So there you
yeah.
go.
Got some tips.
Yeah, so and we're going to talk about getting that book inside you out and how fun and easy that can be. And see, Nikki, introduce yourself. So,
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on. I'm Nicky Marshall. I'm one half of Discover Your Bounce Publishing that I run with my business partner Sharon Critchley. I am an author. I've written three solo books, three with Sharon, and contributed to about another dozen here and there.
oh,
So, like you say, serial writer. I'm a writing mentor, and we run a publishing house. So we publish business books, inspiration books, fiction, kids. We've kind of
fantastic.
expanded, and we've been going 10 years now, Sarah, which is,
Wow,
yeah.
fantastic. And you do a lot of speaking and do events and bring writers together and stuff, don't you?
Yeah. I talk a lot. My last book was called No One Is Coming to Save You and Why That's a Good Thing. So I tend to talk on why you should just get out of your own way and listen to that internal voice and get what you really want to do out there, which feeds beautifully into book writing, right?
Fantastic. Well, just before we turned this on, we were both saying we've both written books in less than a month. Right? And most people think that writing a book is going to take a year or 2 years, and there's a big, heavy process attached to it. And one of the things I've learned is you plug into the big, universal, infinite genius flow, and you get your passions unleashed, and you put your fingers on the keyboard, and whoop, it comes, you know? How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you've got your why, if you're really clear on the purpose of why you're writing your book and who it's going to help, and also that win-win, how is it going to help you, whether that's in your business or in your life, get really clear on that purpose. And then have a strategy, make some space. As you say, you can plug into that genius, but you can't do it in between feeding the cat, doing the school run, and then go, right, I've got 10 minutes, go. It's not going to work. So how can you create space? And when you're really clear, sometimes the space will just appear anyway. So yeah, I wrote mine in 28 days in France, and we were on holiday. We were traveling in between. We were doing lots of other things, but while we were at certain places, I had a little notebook, and I would just make little notes as I was out and about. And then when I got back, like you say, keyboard open, and it would just the whole chapter would just
Yeah.
come.
It's like you tap into something. Like it is coming from us. Like I know what I'm writing is mostly coming from me, but there's a kind of inspirational flow that happens that just puts it into words that if I was in my head trying to write, it wouldn't come out the way it comes out in a kind of whoa, like there's powerful, almost emotive energy to it. And there's phrases that I would never think of and concepts that excite me once I get writing in the flow. And I do tend to write mine interspersed in between running the business. So I'll be emailing somebody over here and then doing a coaching call and then writing for an hour and then going out for a walk, that kind of thing. But it's like I write when I feel the oomph to write. If I try to force myself to it, it doesn't work. Did you find that?
Yeah, you can see the difference in words. And also, we've published over 60 books now, and you can see the difference in words when people struggle. You can see that a certain chapter will be a bit clunky. And then when you talk to the author, they say, oh yeah, I had real trouble with that one.
Yeah.
And so, like you say, we get inspiration. We have, whether you call it universal energy, group consciousness, like whatever it is. I think we tap into that field as well as, like you say, our own inspiration. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, if you've got an hour, I think that works. Half an hour, but I think, like you say, it needs to feel in flow. If you're not feeling it, I usually say go and do something else, go for a walk, or go for a walk first, and then come back and spend half an hour on something.
Yeah. It was interesting because the last book I just did was about my own life, life and times. It was called Becoming Legendary. And it was written differently than most of the others I've written. I've written a lot of kind of breakthrough books around coaching and transformation and leadership and visionaries and consciousness innovation and stuff like that. But I've also written fantasy novels. And this last one was a little bit of combo of everything. And it was challenging at first because I thought, who's going to want to hear about my life? Like, you have these thoughts that come up, right? I'm sure every writer, every painter, every dancer has these thoughts that come up. And then I just happened to be on a call or something and mentioned it. And this woman said, I really want to hear about your life. Oh, okay, thanks. Okay, I'll give it another go. And usually I write it in a flow. I don't edit as I write. If I find myself editing as I write, I stop because that's when I'm out of flow. And in this case, I wrote the first draft. I didn't like it. I wrote a second draft. It was better. I wrote a third draft, and then boom, I knew what to do. I was in the shower and just the ideas just boom, boom, boom. There was about four of them came. And I added a chapter on a past life reading that I did for a guy one time that was symbolic of becoming legendary. And I wrote a whole channeled piece on the future. And then I wrote, then I came across this short novelette that I'd written called oh, what was it? Something about dream masters. And I just put it at the end of the book and said, this is all about us becoming legendary. So by the time I finished, I was happy with it. But that's unusual for me to play with it like that. Usually it comes out in a stream of flow. How about you? What's your experience with that for yourself and other writers?
Yeah, I think like you say, when you were saying about who's gonna read my words, oh, I hear that and I say that. And I sent No One Is Coming to Save You with to Sharon for a read with almost an apology. Like, I think it's rubbish. She was like, it's perfect, although you forgot this bit. That was the feedback that came back. I was, oh.
Yeah,
So never throw anything away because, as you say, sometimes it does just need an extra bit or that tweak.
yeah.
When I wrote a previous book, I had a stroke when I was 40 and recovered, and I wrote Rescued by the Coast Guard, which was that story. And I'd written most of the book, but I didn't have the last three chapters, and I couldn't fathom how I was going to end it. I really struggled, and I left it. And then one day, my daughter said, Mum, can you either stop talking about this book or finish it? One or the other, out of the mouths of babes. I was just like, all right, okay. Um, and we had a dive planned. I was going back into the water because I'd got my medical back and I was well. And we did a dive in the Scillies, which was almost going back because the first dive was in Lundy. And I did this dive and I got out of the water and I went, I know how my book's going to finish. And Phil said to me, you dive in
Fantastic.
this afternoon. I said, no, 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 I've got a book to write. And I literally went back to our apartment and bashed out the last three chapters. So I think,
Wow.
like you say, sometimes it's just a bit of life needs to happen. You need a bit of movement before you can, or shower or
Yeah,
something to just
it says get away from
quiet.
it. Stop thinking about it. Just, but kind of set your intention that the
Yeah.
right moments will come. The other thing that I do that probably nobody else does at all, I don't let anybody else edit my work, which is probably highly unusual. But it's because there's an energetic to it that I don't want people correcting or changing phrases because it's got an energetic flow to what I write. So the books aren't just books, a lot of them are consciousness breakthroughs. And I need the energy to stay as I create it. So I do edit it myself about 5 times. I might let my husband have a peek at it just for typos. But he's written 5 books himself. He does fantasy novels. And we don't read each other's books. And everybody's so shocked by that. What? You haven't read each other's books? No, but we really know each other are brilliant writers, but we just leave it alone kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So because when you do publish your book, you have three options. So you can self-publish, which, as you say, works really well.
Yeah,
Some people don't have the time to do that. Other people worry about the process, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So that
yeah,
could be the only hiccup with that. But self-publishing there's great platforms out there. But
yeah.
then traditional publishing, a lot of people think that's the best way to do things. But actually, if you finish your book, traditional publisher won't publish it for about 18 months, 2 years once you finished it. And
Yeah.
they will want you to make a lot of changes. They will have a lot of say over, we think this is a fiction, we think this is non-fiction, we need you to rewrite this and that. And I think
Yeah.
that's where a hybrid publisher comes in, because we would never change your phrasing, we would never change your words. We might say to you, is this right? Is this what, is this what you intended? Um,
I'm like making up new words.
yeah, but
That's what I do.
I've made up new words in my book. In fact, my husband, was like, what's this word? And I sort of told him, he went, oh, right, okay, cool. um, so we'll do the typos and the typeset and making it all, formatting. But we don't. I think that's the magic in people's books. When you write something that is a made up word or whatever, it's very deliberate and intentional. So
That's
we,
right. Yeah.
we leave well alone.
Yeah, exactly. Why can't we make up new words? Just because it's in a dictionary, somebody made it up sometime, like why not? So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've seen how many new words are there, the last few years where the younger generation are making up their new words. So why, I think that gives us all permission to just make up our own new words and see what happens.
Yeah. So I self-publish on Amazon. All my books are on Amazon, which don't pay huge royalties. It says 70%, but it doesn't look like 70% by the time you're finished. It looks like probably about 15% sort of thing, at least as much as I've seen so far. Um, and I'm happy with that because I have a very selective audience for the kind of books that I wrote. I kind of write them for breakthroughs in consciousness, breakthroughs in uh, paradigms and how we view the world kind of thing. So I don't care if 10 people read it, if those 10 people get it and they then use that. Do you see what I mean? So it's a ripple impact for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
brilliant.
like the concept of hybrid publishing. I haven't heard that before. So that's really cool. So describe how you do that.
Yeah, so the first thing we do is, when you've written your words, we do what we call just a developmental edit or a review. And that does say, hey, chapter eight's a bit clunky, or did you mean this? Or I haven't heard enough of you. Because a lot of people in their introduction, I know great things about the person, and then they don't put it in their book because they think they're showing off. And I'm like, no, no, no. This is
Yeah.
one of our authors, her first business mentor was Anita Roddick from the Body Shop. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you need to get that in, talk about that experience. It was brilliant. So that's the kind of edit. Then we have two different proofreaders we have a team of 12. So two different people, like
Mhm.
it's like blind date. I match the book to the person depending on what is
Ah,
about.
fantastic.
Um, so that we have two different proofreaders. Then it gets typeset, which is all the formatting, which I didn't realize took hours and hours and hours, but it does to get it to get it right.
Do you have a
And
printer who does that for you, or do you do the printing yourself?
the typesetters are designers, so they will add a diagram if it's needed, add an illustration, and then we have a cover creator, so another designer who just does all our
Wow.
covers, and he makes them all really. I mean, he's done 60 books, and they're all so different. It's
Yeah.
again, that's his genius, that's not mine. So I leave him to do that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, then we get a proof, upload it on Amazon, like you say, paperback and Kindle. Kindle, you get slightly more. You do get that 70% royalty,
Yeah.
the paperback. But again, I look at the pricing and research how much you're going to get per book and where's your margin and all
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then launch the launch and promotion, which, as you say, is the bit that a lot of people struggle with, because we're not natural marketers, unless you are, that's your genius.
Yeah.
um, so we wrote a book called 50 Ways to Promote Your Book to help all our
Oh,
authors,
wonderful.
and that
Is
book
that
was
on
a bestseller.
Amazon? Can they get it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon. It was a bestseller for about 8 months on Amazon,
Oh, wow.
which was pretty, if it's about promotion, I'm glad. I'm glad of that. But yeah, when people work with us, we give them a 6-week launch plan and sit down and talk about what platforms. But I think the main thing is people write their book and they put it on Amazon and then they expect people to find it. Well, there are millions of books on Amazon and you have to work the algorithm. So when you are, when you're talking about your book on Facebook, people that know you will click. And then that wakes up the algorithm gods and they go, oh, hang on, a lot of people are clicking on this page today. And then they show it to more people. So you always have, I could talk about feeding your book. You always have to do something. So you don't have to write a post every day that says, I've written a book, buy my book. But take your book out for a coffee and take a picture with your coffee cup and just have a little insert, say, when I wrote this, this was what I was thinking, or someone amazing bought my book, or this was some feedback around my book. And you have to just keep it alive because otherwise, like you say, you'll stop talking about it, people will stop clicking, and then the algorithm won't show it to people. But socials are a really great free way of
Yeah.
using it. And it doesn't have to be your face, it doesn't have to be endless TikTok videos of you doing silly dances.
Yeah.
You can just put little reels together. The most a really popular one the other day, I was walking and it was just me. The video was just of my shadow. And then I just added some text and loads of people liked that one. And I know you've had great fun with getting
Oh
people
God,
to
yeah.
look at your videos.
Yeah, I love using my iPhone to take videos while I'm out, and because I live in Wells near Glastonbury, so there's so much beauty and wonder around here and magical events and stuff. So my Avalon the Enchanted's page on Facebook now has 16,000 followers, and one of the videos had 530,000 views. I was like, whoa. And again, that's because but I'm not self-promoting in it, and I'm not making money from it because I just can't put ads on beautiful things, like
No, but what
can't do it.
you can just very gently say, if it links, if you film something that's brilliant, you can say, oh, that reminds me of what I wrote in my book. If you
Yeah,
want to grab it, the link's in my bio, and just make sure your Amazon link is in your bio. And then it's very gentle. Everything we do is all organic. All the bestseller stuff we do is all organic. None of it is paid because I think it's important to get the person
yeah,
get the person's identity through because you can get a bit too spammy if you if you go the ad route, and there's no need. I think we can find the right people. And
yeah.
even a couple of years later, I noticed that No One Is Coming to Save You went back in the charts last week, and I wrote it 2 years ago.
Oh,
I think it was
fantastic.
just around some of the things I was talking about on my socials because
Fantastic.
it was number 22 in the charts. I was like, great.
Wow, fantastic. That's exciting. So, as a hybrid publisher, so I know you probably don't want to say price wise, but like, how do people pay you to do all that? And then do you manage the promotion afterwards? How does all that work for you?
Yeah, so the cost depends on how many words in the book and how complex, whether there's lots of drawings and illustrations and things. But it is an investment. But with you could pay to get a run of leaflets designed, and then once they're finished, they're done. Whereas with a book, you can always change the marketing things in the back. So
Yeah,
people pay us, and then we take a 10% of the royalty, and 90% goes back to the author. But that means that people can always come back and change. If they want their bio changed or an app or something else they're doing put in the back, or they want to change a sentence or change a website link.
fantastic.
And we do the first sort of 4 to 6 weeks of promotion, but the promotion is done with you. So whatever you do, we do too. So if people don't promote, we don't know what to share. I mean, it goes out. It goes out to all our newsletter list, and we're always putting we do a what's on our bookshelf post and kind of rotate books. But that first 6 weeks is when I think you get the most traction and you find out what works. I think of
Yeah,
it like an experiment or a game. I
yeah.
wonder what I can do. And when we were getting, one of our authors really wanted that number one spot, and she was at number two, and it was about 8 o'clock at night. I said, "Come on, you and I, let's see what we can do." And we just put another couple of posts in another couple of places, and we woke up the next morning and it was in the number one spot.
Fantastic. Congratulations. That's wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah, test. It's always test and play. Yeah.
yeah.
fun.
Well, once, because Santori and I both wrote books when we moved here to this area, to Somerset, and we both wrote books about Avalon. So I wanted to put two books together. So for the first and only time, we had them printed locally. And because they were two books, you couldn't just put one behind another. We had to turn the book around so either way it would look like the book. And that meant it had to have a spiral cover so it couldn't go into bookshelves, which was interesting. But also, I could insert these beautiful colored cards with my photos of Avalon in between everything, which made it really interesting. So we probably got about 150 copies done for about £1,500 at the time. And we we posted them ourselves out to anybody who we knew wanted to buy them. And I did more promotion for that. And eventually they went into Amazon. But what they were gifts for people in the end. And I was glad we did it, even though it was a lot of money. Uh, because I'd have people come for training and I'd say, here, I'm going to give you a... And then I'd take them to Glastonbury and show them around. So it had this nice kind of feel to it, you know? It was really quite
Yeah.
lovely.
And I think
Yeah,
that generous energy is really important with books because people, again, if you publish on Amazon, as you know, you can get author copies that are
yes,
relatively cheap compared to the retail price.
yeah,
But I always say to people, do gift them. Or if I'm at a talk and someone really inspires me, I've always got a book in my bag, and it's just nice to be generous because then that energy flows out, and sometimes people will just take it upon themselves to write a lovely review or share your links. But I think just paying that energy forward is really important.
yeah.
um
It's a lovely thing to do. And I had all these ideas recently, which I haven't acted upon yet, but I thought, because I've got like a package, I could set packages of books because I've got coaching ones and leadership ones and transformation ones and how the how-to side of thing. And then I've got fantasy novelettes. I've got like I said, I could put packages together, do author things, but then I'd have to post them out to everybody, and or how would I use them is what I was playing with in my mind. And then I have ideas of doing the local markets, but I'm too lazy to get up at 6 in the morning and
Yeah, and that's a really good point, though. Solara, if you're thinking of writing your book, and promoting your book, it has to work for you.
yeah.
If you try and force something, it won't work. I did a couple of Christmas book events where I took all of our books from all of our authors. I had two really great big boxes, and I went and set up, and I was exhausted at the end of it. And I just thought, actually this isn't for me. So you can do series on Amazon. You can link certain books into a series, and once you
Uh-huh.
do that, people then go, oh, there's a series, I want the collection. If they buy one, they then see the other ones, and so they want the set. So that can work
Uh-huh.
really well.
Oh,
um,
fantastic. Yeah.
and also if you have two books and you do, say they're £10 each, and you do like two for 15, again with author copies, people like the people like bundles. I've been experimenting. So whenever I go and do a talk, I take my books and I do a 2 for 15 offer, and that tends to work really well. Um,
Fantastic.
but it is about being creative and having fun with it. And
Yeah.
again, think of what events are already on that you could go and give a talk, or
Yeah.
I give a talk and then I make get a free table so I can put my books, that kind of thing. So like if it's a business book, are there any FSB events or Chamber of Commerce events that you could go and offer your time? Is there a business enterprise event that you can go to?
Yeah.
Are there any reading groups locally? Are there any, like you say, the kind of literary festivals? They tend to start a little bit later, go through the afternoon. I went to a lovely event at Bath Library. So again, libraries do events, they do author events.
Yeah.
Um, but it all starts with having the book in the first place.
Yes.
You need to have written that thing.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you decide you can do it in your own style.
Yeah. One of the things I've done with some of my books is that there's what's called online flip page books now. Like, they have flip page magazines where you can put a magazine up and you flip it through, and so you don't have to buy a printed copy. Well, you can do the same with books. I use publu.com, Publuu.com. So I don't, if people want to, it's a short book. And one of the things I do to make it easy is I create the book in a document on canva.com.
Okay.
Because in Canva, I can put colors and fonts and images and play with it. So, but when it gets printed in Amazon, it'll go into black and white. So I have to be aware of that. But if it goes onto something like a flip book or an ebook, the ability to enrich it with color and images and fonts and all that kind of stuff. And then you put it in a flip book, and it's really quite interesting. But the flip books go for free for me. I don't have a way of charging for them, so nor do I think I want to. Because for me, a lot of the books I'm writing, I want people to absorb them. I also use them if I'm doing courses, which I do a lot of training online and in person. And it's good to have books that support that. Uh, One of my challenges, though, is that the way I work, everything's evolving every week. So something I wrote a year ago may no longer sit right with me. It's
Yeah.
changed so dramatically, like consciousness work and things like that. It changes so fast right now, especially over the last 2 to 3 years. It's just like, that I can't write and say what I said 3 years ago. And I've got my first book was The Alchemical Coach, wrote it in 2003. And I think it's still good. It's all about potential and leadership and stuff like that. It's good. But for me, it's so basic. And yet for the coaching industry, it's so leading edge even now.
Yeah. And this is what I think, because sometimes when we are moving forward, we think that everyone knows our story. And I found out a couple of weeks ago they really don't. Because you forget to kind of, you know, when something's happened a few years ago, you forget to tell people when you're talking, because like you say, you've moved, like the stroke story, I put it out a couple of weeks ago because it was 16 years ago. It was the anniversary, and a few things had nudged me that weekend. So I thought, oh, we'll just put a post about it. So many people said, I didn't know that was part of your story. I'm like, well, because I forget that it is, but also with knowledge. And, if we are a coach or a leader, or we've got expertise, we think that everyone knows our level. And then we forget that actually, for some people, they're just coming in at it for the first time. And so those books are really relevant for those people. And actually, if you've self-published or hybrid published, that's the beauty, is you can add a chapter at the end that says, this is 2006, this is what I would add. Or you could do a second edition. I know Daniel Priestley does lots of entrepreneurial books, and it was like a firm favorite on lots of people's bookshelves. And then he wrote a second edition that had like the advent of AI and some of the new things in it. So you
Oh,
can
how
always
interesting. Yeah.
can always do a second edition.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. And as you say, you can always go in and do a different version and like update the book as well. I did that with The Alchemical Coach. I re-edited it in 2015, but that was 11 years ago.
Yeah, and actually Amazon, I mean, color books are a little bit more expensive, but you can also do like a limited edition for Christmas or for whatever. This is
Yeah.
a lovely book. This is the proof of a lovely book written.
Nice.
It's a story about a boy who is differently gifted. Um, and again, we wanted to do full color because I want to show. So there were some really lovely images. He had a local
Oh,
artist
beautiful.
uh,
Yeah.
paint them. So we got A3 paintings of all the images, and then we managed to scan them in really high quality.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic.
and so, you can do a full color book. What I would
Yeah.
say is if it's just going to be a few images, then it's not worth the extra
Yeah.
price per
It
book.
costs more for the color books to
If you're
put.
going to do it, dive right in and really enjoy it. Go to town on all those images and photos, and make it, and make it like a coffee table book, because those do tend to retail for a little bit a little bit
Yeah.
more, and you can just do a limited edition and see what works. That's it. I think
Yeah.
we're always experimenting with it.
Well, let's kind of wrap it up, I suppose.
Otherwise, we're going to talk for
We
3 hours
talk
on books.
forever. So, give me your kind of top tip or two or three of what you would say to people who want to write and publish and get books out there.
I would say look at all of your options and, maybe have a chat, not just with me, but, quite often I get on a call and just talk through people's options with them.
Yeah.
Be really clear on your purpose and your why. Boot that imposter syndrome out because, as you
Yeah.
said, if one person I write for one person, or sometimes I write for my younger self, and just have that person in mind when you're writing. Make sure you have snacks and drinks and just so that you don't get up every 2 minutes. Um, and then if it is an emotional, if you are sharing your story, do make sure you get out for a walk or you do some space clearing afterwards. Because when we write emotional stuff, it can stay within us. So I always have to go out for a walk if I'm writing anything like that. Um, but yeah, just do it. Just you know, have a strategy and go for it. So we have a little program called Aspiring Author, that we run through Facebook, and it's £100 for a whole little video course and an hour with me, and we sketch out your book
Nice.
together. So if anyone wants that, and then we have a VIP version if people say, "I'm never going to do it, you need to stand over me." But yeah, I think your message is important. People will always want to read about other people's experiences, and
Yeah.
so please write your book is my message.
Fantastic. Well, and I would recommend that people do use you or someone like you to do this, especially if they've never done it before. Because for me, it's just kind of effortless now. I just pop them up and then forget about them, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just
But
worth that conversation in the first place because you might find that, yeah, actually, I do have the knowledge and I am going to do it myself, or I do want to take the time and do it myself. But it's worth knowing and having that
yeah.
choice.
Well, mine would be stay in the superflow. Let your genius and the universe's genius innovate through you. Don't be afraid to say things and let it flow and say things in unusual, unique, exciting ways. And don't judge it. Don't judge it as you're writing it. That's important. You gotta stay out of your head
Yeah,
completely and trust the process. Let it come through. Because if you get in the way of it as it's coming through, you'll mess it up. It won't have the energy, it won't have the joy and the verve and excitement to it. But also for me, in my case, a book is a breakthrough in consciousness, whether that's a fantasy novel or a how to next level thing. And it's got its own energy field. And it's important that you also source that energy field of it and kind of gift it to the world before you do even do anything with it, kind of thing. I find that even with my own work. Like if I just get out, if I'm in my own way or I forget that I'm working and stuff, I find the business just slows right down. But if I take care of the field of Soleira Green and the world and all that as a field, I had one woman who contacted me last year who said, I asked the universe for help and they gave me your name in a dream. I was like, okay, that works for me.
yeah,
And then she just,
yeah,
because my name is unusual, so she Google searched and there was my website. So she found me. I think that's something else I would say, create a website. Even though websites aren't as useful these days, people don't use them as much. But if you're going to sell something yourself, whether that's coaching or training or books, or if you're going to do it yourself, at least have a one-page website, if not more.
yeah,
And you can do that yourself on Wix, on Weebly, on Square.com. There's a whole bunch of
yeah,
them. What do
yeah.
you think about
And
that?
there are people that we recommend that I know do really a really good job for the amount that they charge. Like you say, they're for kind of beginner one pages, so it doesn't have to cost thousands to kind of do that. It's more like hundreds. So yeah, again, if you can't do it yourself, or have a chat with someone and they might show you that you can do it yourself. One of my websites I did myself recently, and I was amazed because I have the technical skills of about a guinea pig, I would say. I used to be a hamster, but I've got a bit better, so I'm about guinea pig status now.
I'm
Um,
an expert in website creation. I've probably done about 50 of them.
amazing. And
But sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to come back to the energy because sometimes business slows and people say it's the holidays or it's this or it's that. You and I had a check-in on my energy a few weeks ago, and it was just beautiful what happened. So I would
Oh,
highly
good.
recommend people come have a chat with you too.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. There's only one other thing I would say that we haven't talked about. It was designing the cover. I do that myself on Canva. And what I do on Canva is I go onto their magic media, which is a little bit of AI, and I say, give me an abstract with turquoise and pink and swirly stuff. And it gives me choices, and I keep hitting refresh, refresh, refresh until I see one I like, and then I change all the colors and I edit it and I make it my own until it feels like the book for me.
Yeah, so yeah, you that was the other thing I meant to say is if anyone does just want a cover designer or a proofreader, I can introduce you to some of our team. Like you don't have to do the whole thing. But the only thing I would say with cover design with things like Canva is make sure everything is a royalty-free image because
Yes.
the world of AI is very good at scraping the universe for the things that
Yeah.
might be protected. So,
Yeah.
but things like Pixabay, Pixabay.com, they have a lot of royalty-free images as well. There's another one,
Fantastic.
Pexels, Pexels. And so again, if you really like an image, you can have an image and then you can go to a designer and say, I want to use this, but as long as you've got the vector file, they can do all sorts of crazy things with it. So
Yeah.
you can have a big input in it, or like you say, you can technology is brilliant these days for doing things yourself
It
too.
is, isn't it? Yeah. And I doubt everybody's quite as wanting to do everything themselves like I do. Websites and cover design and writing the books and social media. I love doing that stuff and taking videos with my camera. Those are
Yeah,
things
but
I love. Most people that aren't like that, I don't think that they would necessarily want to do all those pieces.
that's what it's about, isn't it? It's finding the bits where your genius is and
Yeah.
finding the bits that you love to do.
Yeah.
And then finding when I started outsourcing in my business, that was when we really moved forward because I could do the things that I'm not saying only I can do, but the things that I do have an aptitude for and the things that I love to do. And
Yeah.
then the typeset and all the graphic stuff, I find amazing people that can do that. And our team, they love every book. They get so excited. They buy copies for themselves and
Oh,
they cheerlead for
fantastic.
people. They leave reviews for them and things. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a lovely place to be, but it's nice to
Yeah.
choose the bits that you want to do.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we would probably both say to people, go for it. Right. If there's something in you that for people that you've always had this kind of inkling, "Yeah, I would like to write a book. Just start,
Yeah.
and but start easy and have fun with it. Don't judge it. Don't get in the way of it. Just let it come and see what
Yeah.
happens. And if you need to get some support from somebody like Nikki or me or somebody else, it does help to get inspired by people who've done it.
Yeah, and just reach out. Tell us your idea. I'm sure we both love the ideas. And yeah, I talk about, changing the world one person at a time. And so, like you say, someone might come back to you one day and say, as a result of your book, I have gone and I have done this. And it
Yeah,
just gives you that moment. We've both had it, haven't we? Of just, it's a lovely
exactly.
feeling.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you so, so much for doing this. And we're going to meet up this month in Glastonbury and
Yeah,
connect up and have lunch and have a wander around that magical place. So
looking forward to it.
exciting. So whoever's watching, thank you for watching. We hope you'll be inspired to do your own writing in books and in whatever inspirational, innovative way works for you. So there you go. Thanks,
Right.
everybody.
Thank you.